This is the story of a Rajput prince, a Mughal emperor, and a river that divided not just lands but the Indian mind. In the late 16th century, northern India was a civilization in motion, old kingdoms blending into a rising empire, Persian at court culture mingling with Sanskrit learning, Central Asian cavalry riding alongside Rajput warriors whose lineages were older than memory. Among these Rajputs, the men of the house of Amber stood out. Chivalrous, proud, and visually unforgettable. Their forts perched on cliffs like stone crowns. Their turbans flared in saffron, crimson, and indigo, their moustaches curved with martial confidence. They lived with splendor, jeweled opium boxes, brocaded garments, golden armlets, and the slender Rajput dagger, the katar, tucked into the kamarband. The Rajput houses, such as Amber, were the traditional shields of northern India, who had for centuries resisted the pressure of Arab, Turkic, and Persian invasions. Their ethos was courage unto death, their honor sacred. These men were as volatile as they were noble, capable of sublime loyalty, sudden fury, and suicidal bravery. They had resisted numerous foreign invasions, from Ghaznavids to Ghurids, and in some tragic moments of defeat, their women chose collective self-immolation over surrender. They were the custodians of Hindu martial culture, and the Mughal emperor Akbar the Great, clever judge of men, wisely sought alliance rather than enmity. Recognizing their power, Akbar forged matrimonial and political alliances with the Rajput houses, especially the kingdom of Amber, whose rulers proudly styled themselves Savai in later centuries, or one and a quarter, as if to say that a ruler of Amber was more than merely one man, but a force that surpassed the standard measure. To many Rajputs, such as the Kachwaha Rajputs of Amber, the Mughal emperor was, at first glance, a Turkic mlecha, foreign by origin, Central Asian by race, Persian in language and culture. His world smelled of rosewater, musk, ink, and wine. Theirs of ghee lamps, sandalwood, temple bells, and the sharp scent of sweat of the Marwari horse. And yet, in an irony of history, Mughal blood soon carried Rajput lineage within it, softening the inherited repulsion without erasing it. And from this world emerged one of the Mughal Empire's greatest generals, Raja Man Singh of Amber, Akbar's brother-in-law, yet more affectionately his farzand, his son. Akbar used the word not lightly. He had wrestled Man Singh in a drunken state during one festival evening. The emperor, emboldened by wine, challenged the young Rajput prince to a bout. The two grappled in the Darbar courtyard, the emperor laughing, Man Singh holding back his great Rajput strength so as not to injure his sovereign. It ended in good humor, one of the many small gestures that reflected the deep fondness between them. Man Singh had fought at Haldighati for his emperor against his fellow Rajput, Maharana Pratap of Mewar. Pratap represented the opposite pole of the civilizational dilemma, pure repulsion, a refusal to bend even an inch before the foreigner. And here lies the paradox that crowns the age. Amber, which embraced alliance, and Mewar, which resisted almost unto ruin, both survive today. Proof that India's civilizational story makes room for both the bridge builders and the boundary keepers. For his prowess in the field, Man Singh received the title of Mansabdar, the Persian title Mirza, served as governor in Mughal provinces across the country, and earned a place among the Navratnas, or the nine gems of Akbar's court. To understand the aura of Man Singh, imagine him transplanted across continents, into a world where the courts were filled with Grandes de España, where honor was the true measure of a man and religious devotion ran as deep as in his native Rajputana. where Hispanic chivalry moved to the same stern rhythm that shaped the clans of his native homeland. Had Man Singh been born in Castile, he would have taken his place naturally among the grandees of Spain, moving through the solemn corridors of the Escorial instead of the red sandstone of Fatehpur Sikri, his footfalls echoing beneath vaulted archways darkened by age and memory. His noble Rajput turban would have been set aside for a ducal coronet, his armour chased with Spanish damascening, his horse prancing in the courtyards where the Duke of Alba and Don Juan of Austria weighed the destinies of realms. For these were men entrusted to uphold an empire stretched across continents, serving as Habsburg governors in Flanders, Milan, and Naples, much as Man Singh, in his own world, would be sent to Kabul, Bengal, or Berar to steady the Mughal frontiers in Akbar's name, bearing authority far from the court he served. One can almost see him commanding tercios with the same assurance with which he led the Rajput cavalry. And had Philip II entrusted him, not Medina Sidonia, with the Armada, one suspects the chronicles of Britain would read in an altogether different way. But fate anchored him in India, and it is here that his genius shaped history. In 1582, Akbar commanded Man Singh to suppress a rebellious Afghan governor on the empire's northwest frontier. To do so, his forces had to cross the Indus River, not merely a geographical barrier, but a psychological one. For centuries, the Indus, the Sindhu, had marked the western edge of the Indian world. Though lands beyond it like Gandhara and Kapisa or Kambodge had once been luminous centers of early Indian civilization, they had long since come under Central Asian sway. By Man Singh's time, these regions felt foreign, even menacing. These so-called foreign lands of Afghanistan had, in antiquity, been part of India's own cultural frontier since Vedic times. Yet by the 1500s, these regions felt psychologically distant, tinged with fear and impurity. To many high-born Rajputs, steeped in ritual purity laws, crossing the Indus meant risking pollution, caste loss, and a severing from the sacred order of life. They were patrons of Hinduism, custodians of ritual propriety, and they insisted, both then and later, that their cooperation with the Mughals was precisely a strategy to protect the faith, not dilute it. So the army hesitated. The river roared, brown and immense. Horses snorted, armor glinted under the sun. And Man Singh rode alone forward, calm, assured, almost serene. There, upon a slight rise above the riverbank, he uttered the words that have echoed through history. Sabe bhumi gopal ki, ya mein atak kahan, jaake man mein atak hai, so hi atak raha. All land belongs to Krishna. What true obstacle can there be? The only obstruction is the one within your mind. A smile might have crossed his lips, for the crossing was at atak, a name uncannily close to the Hindi word atak, or hindrance. The message was unmistakable. The only atak that matters is the atak inside you. And so the Rajputs crossed, the rebellion was crushed, and Kabul secured. The real trial, however, came in 1585 when 5 powerful Afghan tribes, including the fierce Yusufzai, combined in revolt. Raja Birbal, another of Akbar's Navratnas, more of a bureaucrat than a warrior, fell in the early fighting. Man Singh was called upon once again, and gathering his army in Lahore, he ventured farther than any Mughal commander yet, through the Khyber Pass, the roof of the world, into the cold, stony marrow of Afghanistan. Amid cliffs the colour of burnt copper, and the valleys echoing with tribal war cries, he broke the 5 tribes. To commemorate this astonishing victory, the Kingdom of Umber changed its banner. The old Kachinar flag was replaced with the Pancharanga, the 5 colours, each stripe representing a defeated Afghan tribe. And this crossing of the Indus was not the last. The river would be crossed again by the Marathas, who in the mid-1700s pushed into Attock and Peshawar, momentarily resurrecting an Indo-centric presence deep into the northwest. By the Sikhs under Maharaja Ranjit Singh, who made Peshawar a Sikh administrative centre and held the Khyber with unmatched discipline. The name of his most trusted general of the Khalsa Fauj, Hari Singh Nalwa, is said to have been evoked by many an Afghan mother to quieten their crying children. In each case, the same deeper truth resurfaced. The frontier was never truly foreign. It had always been part of the civilizational rhythm of India. Let the timid speak of pollution and forbidden waters. Where Gopal or Krishna's name is carried, no river, not even the Indus, can sever purity. The so-called loss of caste dissolves like foam upon the tide, for the mind alone conjures up these chains. All earth is his playground and domain. The river demanded courage, not ritual, and the Rajput Raja Man Singh, the Maratha Sardars Raghunath Rao Peshwa, Malhar Rao Holkar, Tukoji Holkar, Jankoji Scindia, and Sardar Hari Singh Nalwa, the Bagmar tiger killer, all responded to the call. The House of Ambir, by poisoning themselves as the Emperor's men, gained power, prestige, and stability. But in the complex social world of Rajput polities, it also carried a subtle stain. To houses like Mewar, which prided themselves on a legacy of resistance and uncompromising independence, Ambir's Mughal ties could seem like a form of compromise, a concession to Persianized courtly norms rather than pure Rajput honor. Moralizing historians, travel observers, and the romantic chronicles collected by writers such as James Todd often reflect this tension. In those accounts, Ambir or Jaipur is respected for its survival and political acumen, yet sometimes quietly reproached by more orthodox Rajput clans for having embraced what others saw as foreign influence. In those stories, Jaipur stands as a city of refined courts, diplomacy, and Mughal-style grandeur, admired, but regarded by some as having decayed from the unadorned warrior ethos of Mewar. Thus, among Rajput houses, there remained an unspoken rivalry. Mewar representing the ideal of unyielding independence and martial purity, Ambir Jaipur representing adaptability, alliance, and political sophistication. After the British left in 1947, India faced the momentous task of unifying over 500 princely states into the newly formed Union. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the Bismarck of India, first Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister, the Iron Man of India, used a combination of persuasion and pressure to bring hesitant rulers on board. In one notable encounter, he met the Raj Sahib of Jodhpur. The Rajput told Patel, "We shall do all we can to preserve our independence." Patel, with his characteristic quiet precision, said, "Independence? Like the kind you preserved when your ancestors gave daughters in marriage to the Mughals?" Patel reminded the prince, in effect, that even the proudest houses had tempered their pride with pragmatism when history demanded it, even when that meant providing daughters to the Mughal harem or crossing the Indus when the emperor ordered to do so. Every civilization develops repulsions, taboos, rituals, notions of purity that preserve identity. India, more than most, cultivated elaborate distinctions: what one may eat, whom one may dine with, which waters one may cross. These guarded continuity through centuries of turmoil. But civilizations also require universality, the impulse to expand, to encounter, to absorb, to push beyond inherited boundaries. Cultures often define themselves against something else: a repulsive other, a hostile border, a culture to be subjugated or feared. The Afghan tribes represented exactly that for the Mughal Rajput world: remote, fierce, culturally different. Yet when Man Singh crossed the boundary and defeated those Afghan tribes, he didn't just assert dominance, he absorbed their memory. The Panchranga flag is a powerful metaphor. Those others didn't vanish, their identities were woven into the fabric of Ambir's identity. In a nutshell, repulsion preserves a culture. Universality expands a culture. A civilization needs both, but must know when to lean on which. Had Man Singh's troops clung blindly to repulsion, the frontier would have collapsed. Had India embraced universality without restraint, its inner essence might have dissolved. Civilization thrives in the dance between these two impulses, the hearth and the horizon. Centuries have passed since Man Singh crossed the Indus, yet the legacy remains. The Panchranga still rises over Jaipur's palaces. The Govind Dev Ji temple, his great act of patronage, still floods each dawn with saffron light and devotional song. The temple houses the idol of Govind Dev Ji, which had to be carried to Ambir from Vrindavan in secret to save it from Emperor Aurangzeb's iconoclastic destruction, the very emperor the Ambirs were supposed to serve. And in the modern age, the frontier called once more. In a final, almost poetic echo of Man Singh's frontier ride, Lieutenant General, then Lieutenant Colonel, Savai Raja Bhavani Singh of Jaipur, the last titular Maharaja, a descendant of the very house that had crossed the Indus, led his special forces, the 10 Para, supported by the 20th Rajput Regiment, across the border in 1971, capturing and liberating deep positions in the ancient sands of Sindh in a lightning strike that earned him the Mahavir Chakra. It was as if the old Rajput instinct to ride westward, to test the frontier, stirred up once more. This time, not under the Kachnar or the Panchranga, but our Tiranga, the tricolour. A Rajput prince once more crossing into the old frontier, not for empire, but for his republic. A time where we will have to march westwards once more may come. The tales of Akbar's drunken wrestling match, the Rajput dagger kept firm in the Kamarband, the fording of the Indus, Sardar Patel's devastating remark, and the proud titles of Mirza and Savai, these are not just footnotes but living threads in a tapestry still unfolding. For the story of Ambir is not merely the story of a kingdom, it is the story of India's eternal rhythm, the balance between repulsion and universality, between the hearth and the horizon, between the purity that preserves and the courage that expands.